So we learned on Friday that the New York judge overseeing Trump's felony criminal case would not be throwing out the sentencing of Donald Trump in a case where Trump was convicted on 34 separate felony counts is going to take place on January 10th. Now, we talked about in other videos this concept of an unconditional discharge, which takes away the sting of jail time, prison time, or other conditions, but it does impose that scarlet letter on Trump. You are a convicted felon. Trump is not handling this well, and there is a broader theme here, Harry, of other people in Trump's orbit who are not having good days in court despite the election because of their past issues, and in Trump's case, his past criminal conduct that he was convicted of. And for example, you had Giuliani in a contempt hearing, a bizarre hearing where it seemed that he was further digging a hole for himself. The whole thing was very strange. I want you to break that down. But let me read you first what Trump's spokesperson said, and not a spokesperson. This is going to be the communications director at the White House right now, Steve Chung, who throws F-bombs around like there's no care in the world. But here's what he writes this time. Today's order by the deeply conflicted acting Justice Merchan in the Manhattan DA witch hunt is a direct violation of the Supreme Court's immunity decision and other longstanding jurisprudence. The lawless case should have never been brought, and the Constitution demands that it be immediately dismissed. President Trump must be allowed to continue the presidential transition process and to execute the vital duties of the presidency unobstructed by the remains of this or any remnants of the witch hunts. There should be no sentencing, and President Trump will continue fighting against these hoaxes until they are all dead. And I want to be clear, the language that they're using there, dead, death, fighting, killing, hoax. It's intentional language as well, intended to cause fear, intimidation. So, Harry, first, I want you to react to kind of Trump's response to losing the motion. Again, he's been losing over again in that New York case. And we also talked about it before last week in the E. Jean Carroll case, losing there as well, where the Second Circuit Court of Appeals upheld the verdict by the federal trial court, Judge Lewis Kaplan. But we see losing happening with others in MAGA. Giuliani digging a hole deeper. I learned as a lawyer, the law of holes is you stop digging. But Harry, break this all down for me if you can.
Yeah, losing is right, man. And we kind of forget, as Trump wants us to forget, they've just been losing for years, and sort of for two reasons. One is they're guilty and the facts are against them, but the other is they've had these abysmal lawyers. But Trump, he did this huge gamble and he won it. But it's not enough for him. He's thinking somehow that he wants to leverage the election victory, which was, of course, a squeaker, but he's calling this, huge historic mandate, to somehow make everything go away. He wants to take, he thinks that he can take a gamma ray at the past for the last couple of years. And that, besides, being brazen, is really, it frames a very important political social question. Yeah, he's going to be president, but if we whitewash who he was, including that the people did elect him, that would be what we have to do is provide for historical accountability and really let him be who he is. And same thing with Giuliani, who, man, oh man, how the mighty have fallen from not just America's mayor, but even 8 years ago, again and again and again. He's like a common scofflaw who, completely ignores the rule of law and the like. So they somehow have been thinking, hoping, plotting to make the past disappear. But guess what? The past is real. He did commit crimes. Mayor Chun has his eye on the ball, and which is what matters. And over in Judge Lyman's court, just up the street on the federal side. Guess what? Giuliani defamed. This grows right out of January 6th and Trump. He defamed these two election workers terribly, brazenly, with no substance at all, ruined their lives, made them suffer untold miseries, and he's got to pay. So, what we have to be fighting for now, and I know you're doing it daily, is, the guy is president, but we can't somehow let him have a clean slate back to square one and overlook the real dangers to the rule of law that he presents. That's what he's trying to do. And Mayor Chun, I think, cleverly and courageously, wrote an opinion that keeps him from doing that. We'll see what the appellate courts do. In my mind, I think it's pretty strong, but the main thing that Trump's going to really try to do is wriggle out of the physical sentencing on the 10th. And I don't know. I don't see what his claims will be, but he'll push like crazy for it. But it's today you put them together, I think, in a sensible way, because it just brings home we have people who have not just abused individuals like E. Jean Carroll, like Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, but have abused the system, and ironically that they're now going to Trump anyway, inherit, speak for, and actually exercise the power of. But those two assaults on individuals, electors, etc., but also the system, just can't be forgotten. And this is not a do-over Trump 2.0. He starts, and he should start, with the recognition of the people and of history and the political system that he is a criminal.
Harry Litman, let's pivot. Giuliani, what went down there?
Yeah.
The chaos, the hearing, more losing. Break it down for us.
Okay, so just remember, this is the long aftermath of this verdict against him, during which, by the way, he violated discovery obligation after discovery obligation. But Moss and Freeman get $150+ million verdict, and Giuliani doesn't have any money to pay. And now what you do then is pay what you can, and bankruptcy law is there to protect you. But he's tried to seek to be shielded from it, but at the same time, game it in every which way, pretend, he doesn't have that one. Oh, there's no license. Oh, I tried, but it wasn't there. Oh, the dog ate it. And we are at the point now where the judge, this very hearing was, should I hold Giuliani in contempt? Because again and again and again, he's refused to turn over property that it's 100% clear he owes to Moss and Freeman. Today it was like all kinds of stuff about the Joe DiMaggio jersey that he treasures. Fine, he treasures it, but he owes them everything except a very few things, and that includes the DiMaggio poster. But this is a really tricky position for Judge Lyman, because Giuliani doesn't have a penny, and he's ducking legal bills from lawyers who have abandoned him. So if Louis Lyman, Judge Lyman, whom I clerked with, who's a really good judge, wants to force him to comply, a fine won't do anything. He doesn't possibly have the money to satisfy the judgment of Moss and Freeman. What's left? Jail. That's, people are put in jail, and they're in civil contempt. And as it's said by the legal system, they have the keys to the jail cell, because all he has to do is turn over the stuff that he's bobbing and weaving and not doing. But man, that's a pretty tough thing to do to 80+-year-old, kind of not very healthy and kind of addled, former mayor of New York and U.S. attorney. But that's the corner, the very, very tight corner he's painted himself in. And Lyman, to his credit, was giving him no room. He really knows who he has in front of him. but he's got this tough kind of, jail or what. So they went halfway through the hearing. Giuliani had to testify because he put in these declarations saying, all these nice things he's done, but that entitled Moss and Freeman's lawyers to cross-examine. It'll be picked up again, probably by Zoom. He probably won't have to come up again. But then that's the issue in front of Judge Lyman. Do I hold him in contempt and therefore impose some measure? I can't think of anything other than jail that will force him to comply. So, the overall lesson of the day is, the wages of crimes from before don't just get wiped clean by the system, nor should they just because Donald Trump won the presidential election.
And look, you see what Giuliani's strategy was here the whole time. And, I hate to be crass, but it was run out the clock until you die. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. It's, he's of a certain whatever. And I think his goal is to try to ride out the rest of his remaining years at Mar-a-Lago and to take this persona on that he is this political prisoner, but then bask in the glory, in his perceived glory of the Mar-a-Lago, billionaire oligarch, whatever that weirdo scene is that we cover a lot here, and to be a mini celebrity in that world and to live out the rest of his years like that, and literally make the court order the sheriff to literally take the assets one by one and make them have literal garage sales from the courthouse steps of his watch and his trading cards and all of that. And so, people forget when there's a judgment, usually it gets satisfied. And if it doesn't, there's a whole body of law where you have to go and take your piece of paper and give it to a sheriff. And literally you have to take the property. You got to take it by force. And then when the person says, no, I'm not doing that, there's a whole body of judgment debtor exams. And it, it makes it very expensive for collection activities if the person who you're collecting from is basically doesn't care and is ignoring it and is behaving the way Giuliani does.
And will lie and say anything, because we're past the point that you've said. And the sheriff comes and he says, it was here just a minute ago. Oh, I just don't have it. He'll lie, bob and weave. And that's why it's all been served up now in front of Judge Lyman.
Well, there you have it, everybody. Make sure you subscribe to the Talking Feds YouTube, Talking Feds podcast, and Talking Feds Substack. Hey, that Substack of yours, Harry, is an incredible read. I mean, it's where I go to get my legal knowledge. So everybody, subscribe to all three if you can. Harry, thanks as always.
Thank you, Ben. Good to be here.
Real quick, Meta just changed their algorithm to suppress political content. Please follow our Instagram at MeidasTouch right now as we head towards 400,000 followers so you don't miss a beat.